Hi there, and welcome to kindergarten. My name is Elise Zeman. I am one of the certified animal trainers at Friends for Life. We are so excited that you guys are joining us either for our Puppy K or for our Kitten K. We're going to go ahead and just go over a few topics before any of our classes actually start. First, we're going to talk about some training, just like the very, very basics of the training principles we use at Friends for Life. And then at the end, we'll talk about Zoom guidelines, the specific class, what you guys need to do to get prepared. So the training that we use at Friends for Life is called positive reinforcement. What that means in layman's terms is we are rewarding our animal, our dog or our cat. We are rewarding our animal when they do something good. If you ask your dog to lay down and they lay down, we are going to reward that. The science shows that when we positively reinforce our animal's good behavior, they start to do that behavior even more. So if you want your dog to sit before you put their food bowl down, you are positively reinforcing their sit, because once they sit, they get their food. That means that next time they're even more likely to sit before you give their food. The more you do it, the more they're gonna do it. And of course, this works for cats as well. It works for all animals, including humans. So if you want your cat to, when you go, here kitty, and you want them to jump up on your lap, if you positively reinforce them jumping up on your lap, so you give them the ear stretches they really like or a little treat that they like, they are more likely in the future to jump up on your lap when you ask them to, because they got rewarded whenever you did it. There are tons of reinforcements. Two that I've already mentioned are food and pets. We use food most often in training because it is easy and most animals really enjoy it. So it's very reinforcing to our animals. But really it could be anything that your animal finds pleasant. Lots of our animals like pets, ear scratches, butt scratches, belly rubs. It could be toys, playing with a tennis ball, playing with a cat wand. It could be praise or baby talk if your animal loves that. It could be going to a desired place. If my dog sits at the back door, I'll let them go outside, which is what they wanted, right? They got their behavior of sitting was reinforced with going out the door, and they're more likely to do it in the future. So please pay attention to what your animal likes. What's reinforcing to one animal may not be reinforcing to another animal. If you have one cat that will train for 3 hours straight for party mix, doesn't necessarily mean your other cat will. Maybe your other cat prefers to train for wet food or for playing with a special toy that they like. But throughout this whole thing, we are definitely going to need some reinforcements. So have those ready for class. So why positive reinforcement? This definitely was not the first type of training that mankind came up with when it came to animals. But it is the type of training that almost 100 years of science shows us is best for many reasons. Here's the short list. Positive reinforcement builds a trusting relationship between the trainer, which is you, the owner, and your animal. You're definitely going to have to use that trust that your animal has in you during your lives together, whether it's at a vet visit or having to I had to pull a tick off of my dog's inner ear the other day. If we didn't have a trusting relationship, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that, right? Plus, we just want that trusting relationship with our animals. Positive reinforcement opens up communication with our animal. It is already difficult for humans and animals to communicate with each other. Newsflash, we do not speak the same language. But positive reinforcement gives us many tools for us to communicate to our dog or cat, and for our dog or cat to communicate back. Very cool when you get into it. Number 3, positive reinforcement builds confidence in our animals, so that they feel prepared to do whatever it is they like to do, or even things that they're scared to do. You have a dog who's scared to go in the car, using positive reinforcement methods can give them the confidence to go ahead and do that scary thing. Positive reinforcement generally has better training results. Many studies show that the animals learn the behaviors faster. They have better performance of those behaviors, and the results are longer lasting. And of course, positive reinforcement is safer for us and the animals. It's more fun for us and the animals. And it's recommended by virtually every, decent professional animal organization. So the flip side to positive reinforcement would be what we call aversive training. Aversives are anything using punishment. So smacking your animal, screaming at your animal, shock collars, prong collars, anything of that nature. Mankind used this to train animals for hundreds of years. Thank goodness for the science that has come out since then, because aversive training can have some very negative consequences, of course, from an animal welfare standpoint, but also from a training standpoint as well. So punishment aversive training causes an increase of fear in our animals and stress in our animals. What that means is that we then run huge risks of our animals developing undesirable behaviors from that fear and that stress. So some examples of things that we see often with aversive training is animals starting to become more aggressive, inappropriate elimination, and nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants an inappropriate elimination for animals living inside of our houses. We see hyperarousal, so increase of animals jumping up at you, nipping you, biting you. We also, of course, see cowering, hiding, tails tucked, behaviors that we definitely don't want to see our animals go through. The other thing is that aversive training means that our animals start to associate the punishment with the trainer, which is you guys, it's the owner, right? And so the animal actually starts to associate those together. None of us want, our animals just to think of us as the big bad punishers that live with them. So thank God we have positive reinforcement. We have so many tools where we don't even have to mess with this aversive training stuff. We don't want to deal with these side effects. We don't have to do it. Thank goodness. So what we're going to do in our class is something called clicker training. What is clicker training? What a clicker training is a type of positive reinforcement training where the second our animal does the behavior we want them to do, we are going to mark it. That's a behavior word. A marker can be any sound. It can be a click from a clicker. I have a clicker right here. You do not need one for class. You don't need one to own a dog or a cat, but many people enjoy using it. So here's a clicker. This one's from the Karen Pryor Academy. Has a little click on it. Lots of trainers use this. When a dog does something good, or a cat does something good, or a horse does something good, they go. My dog just perked up over there. That was funny. And it tells, well, I'll get into that in a second. A marker can be a click from a clicker. It can be a sound that we make with our voices, like a yes It can also be a good boy. So the animal does the good behavior, they sit. We mark it saying, or yes, or good boy. And what that tells the animal is, oh my God, that thing, that behavior you just did right there in that second, that was really good. And I'm going to give you a reinforcer for that. I'm going to give you a treat or that toy you love, or I'm going to let you go outside. Something really, really awesome is coming. It opens up clear communication with our animal. Every single time that marker is used, they know they did something good and they're about to be rewarded for it. The best way to describe this is just with an example. So here's a video of me and my dog. I don't use the clicker very often. I don't like to carry it around with me at all times. I use yes, which is what most of the other trainers at Friends for Life use as well. Definitely don't have to though, just because we use it. But here's me marking my dog's behaviors with yes. I love that last one in particular because, so I asked my dog to high five, which is where she puts her paw against my hand for a high five. And she didn't do that at first. At first, she put her nose to my hand. So I did not mark when she put her nose to my hand. I marked it once I got the behavior I wanted, which was her putting her paw to my hand. So watch that very last 5 seconds again. And notice that I do not mark her until she does the behavior that I want. Nope. Again, let's watch and notice that I do not mark her until I get the behavior that I want. One more time. So again, clicker training is all about we wait until our animal gives us the behavior we want. So when they're sitting, as soon as they put their butt on the floor, or if we want them to jump up on our laps, it's as soon as they're up in our lap, right? As soon as they do that, we are going to mark it, and then we're going to give them a reward. So your homework then, before class starts, is you're gonna have to choose a marker to use. You're going to use this marker forever and ever and ever. And every single time you use that marker, you want it to mean the same thing. You want it to mean, hey, that thing you just did, that was really good. I'm gonna give you a reinforcer for that. So don't use something that you use in everyday language because you don't want to accidentally say it in conversation and your animal get all excited and then you don't come up with a treat or a toy or anything like that. And use something that you're going to want to use forever and ever and ever, probably. You can change it later on, but why? You don't want to set yourself up for that. So again, the options that we normally see are clickers, if you wanted to get a clicker. At the shelter, we generally use yes. Lots of people like to use good boy, good girl. Lots of people use different languages. Whatever you want to use, come up with it before class and then stick with it. All right, so that's it for training principles before we get started with class. Let's go ahead and talk about the Zoom guidelines that we're going to use to make sure that class is as productive and helpful as it can be. Number one, if you have never used Zoom before, I would practice before class starts. We will open up about 15 minutes before class every day. But to help you with any technical issues you have, but you might just want to go ahead and download it, open it up, make sure that your video works, make sure your microphone works, all of those things, but before class actually starts. Also, please come on time. That will, of course, allow you and your animal to get the most out of class, but it'll allow everyone else to get the most out of class as well, because we won't have to back up and catch up you up on everything going on. Please come prepared. There's a list of all the things you're going to need in the email or whatever you guys received. Make sure that you're ready to go with those so that you don't have to miss out on any part of class to like go get, you know, a bag of treats ready to go. For class, the default is that your video is on, but your microphone is off. It is so exciting that we get to do this virtually. It's going to open up a lot of avenues for us and cool things that we can do. And it is going to be a little different from an in-person training class where, you know, any discussion that goes on the side is going to really be overwhelming for the rest of the class. You're not going to be able, people aren't going to be able to focus on what the instructor is saying if there's other things going on. So video on at all times so that we can see you, we can see your animal, we can, you know, help out with whatever is going on. We know how to lead the class because we know how folks are doing, but microphone off unless it's, you know, hey, Sally Sue, I see that you have a question about this. Why don't you go ahead and turn your microphone on and we'll talk about it. Then of course it's is the time to turn your microphone on. Speaking of questions, we love questions. We hope you guys have a ton of them during class. That being said, because of the virtual setting, please go ahead and type your question into the chat box. We will either address it directly in the chat box, or we'll kind of queue them all up in the chat box. And then later in the class, when it's a good time for questions, we'll go ahead and, you know, call on Sally Sue or anyone else to go ahead and talk out loud about their questions. So that is it from me. We are so excited that you guys and your puppies and kittens are joining us for kindergarten. Thank you for watching the intro about the training protocols and about the Zoom guidelines. If you need anything, please reach out and talk to us. Other than that, we are so excited to see you for class soon. Adios.